Rishi Valmiki has been given the beautiful title of Valmiki Kokila. Valmiki Kokila means the nightingale, Valmiki the nightingale. Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavida Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam. It's a beautiful composition. We know that the cuckoo or the nightingale also both are interchangeable names. We know that it gives a beautiful, wonderful, pleasant cry. Among all the cries of the birds, we know many cries are there. But in the morning or in the evening when we hear the sound of the cuckoo, it's so pleasant. So that much is the pleasure which thousands of years people have got by reading the Ramayana. Right from the day when it was conceived by Rishi Valmiki, Ramayana has been very, very dear to everybody. Over and over again in the most modern age, also you see the recent replay of the entire Ramayana serial has been seen once again by people, and they attend to it as though it is a very, very, very most important part of their life's activity. They would like to miss it. They could miss anything but not this Ramayana serial. And you see how it has been reenacted, how people are thrilled to enact the different parts of that are there in the Ramayana. So the reason for this one is Maharshi Valmiki has been a messenger of Paramatma, and he has clearly, beautifully brought out through the Ramayana whatever he received as a message from Paramatma. He has clearly explained to everybody how adharma and dharma, the two different concepts which when it comes to our personal lives, then we understand that this is right and this is wrong. Each one of us has our own notions of right and wrong. But if you see exactly, closely observe it, then we understand that the first concept of right is what has been shown in the Vedas as dharma. The earliest concept of right has been shown in the Vedas as dharma. That is dharmam chara. And then the earliest concept of what is wrong has been shown as adharma. Gradually when the countries were formed, then we got a new concept of right and wrong, that is called as legal and illegal. Dharma has taken a new shape now. Legal, illegal. That means what is illegal is considered to be wrong, what is legal is considered to be right. But still that also did not cover everything. Though there are so many things which in the personal life they don't come into the legal purview at all. So still again dharma continued. Even till this day, the concept of dharma and adharma continues. Then there are certain things called as practical wisdom. Practical wisdom where neither the realm of legality seems to be there, nor the realm of dharma and adharma also seems to be there. For example, when a person has come to your refuge and he is a person whom you know very well. Perhaps you know that person for about say 20 years, 30 years, and he has been with you in many other activities, good activities, but all of a sudden he has been accused of a crime. And he has come to your refuge. Should you protect him or not? The question arises, should you protect him or not? Then comes sukshma dharma. What do you call it? Subtle dharma. Not just normal gross dharma. Sukshma dharma. Now for example, dharma says one ought not to kill. Dharma, it is dharma that one should not kill. But when it comes to military, the dharma changes. When the military personnel at a particular occasion in the war, they are actually doing their duty. It's not, the intention is not to kill, the intention is to retaliate to the wrong what the other person is doing. So defensively one is protecting oneself, and then in that process somebody is being killed. Would you call that adharma? So now such subtle concepts and everything, all have been shown in the Ramayana as well as the Mahabharata. So when we read these concepts, what happens? There is a churning happening in our mind and intellect. We also start thinking whether it is right or wrong. In fact, man is so much endowed with so much intelligence that he can question even Bhagavan Sri Ram also. Have you done right? Just like Mataji questions Shankar whether he has done right. Shankarji whether Shankarji has done right or wrong. Because it is human intellect, no? We are applying the norms, what we have been taught. But we are not able to see beyond that. So now when we read the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we come to know many subtle aspects. And we put our own logic, and ultimately, the ultimate dharma is what appeals to me only. Each and everyone has now got a notion of his own dharma and adharma. But it cannot be totally only one's own opinion. It has to be backed by either the scriptural concept of right, statutory concept of right, social concept of right. So we have three things now coming. Personal concept of right has to be backed by scriptural concept of right called as dharma, statutory concept of right called as law, social concept of life called as tradition. Only when you put it in these three aspects, then ultimately your action will be right. So now we will see, as we read Sundarakandam and Ramayana, we will come to know many more things. In the Sundarakandam, we are on page number 29. We are going to read verse number 88. Sahayam vanarendrasya yedinaham hanumataha karishyami bhavishyami sarvavachyo vivakshataam. Now, the Samudra Maharaja is also giving a slight indication of his genealogy. Samudra, in the normal sense, ocean is water. And according to the normal parlance, understanding, that is Jada, it is not a living being. Samudra is not a living being as we normally think. But here, Samudra Maharaja, Samudra Raja is now a living entity. It's a conscious entity. You will find the entire Puranas that all the natural elements are all living entities according to the Puranas. Agni is not just fire, Agni is a Devata. Vayu is not just fire, Vayu is a Devata. So similarly, Samudra Maharaja is a Devata. Now Samudra Maharaja is a living being and he is thinking. If I do not help this best among Vanaras, Hanuman, I shall become prone to all kinds of ill talk by those who want to speak against me. Why? Because I have been helped by I am actually a recipient, a beneficiary of the Vamsha of Rama. Samudra Raja is a beneficiary of the Vamsha of Rama. So now he is thinking, as a beneficiary, since Hanuman is going for doing Rama's work, it's my duty to help him. Aham ikshvakunathena sagarena vivardhataha sagarena vivardhitaha. There is an error there, error printing it. Sagarena vivardhitaha Ikshvaku sachichaschayam Sachivaschayam Ikshvaku sachivaschayam. Again, that is an error there. Navasidhitumarhati. Now, the Samudra Raja is thinking, I have been nurtured. I have been nurtured by the Sagara, Raja Sagara. From there only I became Sagara. Raja Sagara is of the Sun solar dynasty. Raja Sagara in the ancient days, he was of the solar dynasty. So I have been brought up, in other words, I have been fostered by him. Ikshvaku Sachivaschayam, and this person who is going, he is a minister of Ikshvaku dynasty, or he is a representative. Sachiva is also representative. So Hanuman is a representative of the solar Vamsha. So I should definitely help him if I cannot allow him to fail in his task. Tatha maya vidhatavyam Vishrameta yatha kapihi Shesham cha mayi vishrantaha Sukhenati patishyati. Now he wants to relieve Hanuman from the tiredness of that flight. So if I relieve him, if I give him some support in between, so he can take rest and then go further. It's just like, when we have the Rathotsav festival here, when the Rathotsav festival is going on here, people are pulling the chariot. Even in Tiruvannamalai, you will see people are pulling the chariot. So as they pass one stage to others, we all give them something to drink. Give them some beverages, some panakam or something, in order to relieve them from that beautiful task which they are doing, the tiredness which comes out of that good act which they are doing. So also Samudra Maharaja wants to give some support to Hanuman's work. I have to behave in such a way that Hanuman would take rest. After resting in me for a while, he can cross the remaining distance with comfort. Iti krutva matim sadhvim samudraschannamambhasi hiranyanabham mainakam uvacha girisattamam. So, inside the Samudra, there is one mountain called as Mainaka Parvata. So, this Mainaka Parvata is hidden. In other words, it is submerged in the ocean. So, Samudra Maharaja, it is in the realm of Samudra Maharaja. So, again, see, the mountain is also alive now. The mountain is also a living being. So, Samudra Raja is telling Mainaka Parvata, he is going to tell, what is he saying? Samudra, thus making a good thought, spoke to Mainaka, the best among mountains, with gold in the middle hidden in the water. He is going to talk to Mainaka Parvata. Tvamiha sura sanghanam patala talavasina devarajya girishrestha Sanniveshitaha. Now Mainaka Parvata has a history. What is the Parvata history? It says, Samudra Raja is saying that actually this Parvata has newly formed, or in other words, in the ancient time it has formed by the Sankalpa of Indra as an obstacle to the people from the Patala from coming outside. Patala is the nether world. The nether world, the world below the Bhuloka is Patala. The world above the Bhuloka is called as Swarga. So Swarga and Patala. So this Patala people should not come up and unnecessarily disturb the people above earth or the people in the Swarga. Therefore Indra only has installed you here, reminding it. So let us see what the Samudra Raja tells Mainaka Parvata in the next session. Hari Om Tat Sat.